Okay, I don't know about you, but simple, buttery, melt-in-your-mouth butter cookies are probably some of my favorite afternoon tea snacks to have. And today I'm going to be sharing my pipeable butter cookie recipe that is super easy to make using only a handful of ingredients and has the most wonderful, delicate crumb that instantly melts in your mouth when you eat it. So to start off, you want to preheat your oven to 180°C or 350°F conventional and line 2 large baking sheets with parchment paper. I'm using two 18 by 13 inch half sheet baking trays, but any large enough size will work. Now you just want to pop these trays aside for now, and next we're going to combine 260 grams or 2 1/8 cups of plain all-purpose flour and half a teaspoon of salt. You don't need to sift it, but you do want to give it a good mix to ensure that the salt is evenly mixed throughout the flour. Now once that's mixed well, you just want to pop this flour and salt mixture aside for now, and next we're going to combine our wet ingredients. So to a large bowl, add in 226 grams or 1 cup of softened unsalted butter. You want the butter to be soft enough that you can easily mix it with your spatula and it'll kind of have a little shine to it. So softer than room temperature, but it shouldn't be melted. And then to that, add in 100 grams or half a cup of white granulated sugar, and then using a hand or stand mixer on a medium speed, cream that together for 3 minutes until it's light and fluffy. You don't want to over cream it though, so once 3 minutes has passed, you want to stop there. Next, we're going to add in 2 large room temperature egg yolks, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract or essence, and then our secret ingredient, 33 grams or a 1/4 cup of milk powder. This is just going to add so much flavor to your cookies, and then you just want to mix that in on a low speed until well combined. Now once that's done, add in the pre-mixed dry ingredients from earlier, so the flour and salt, and then mix that in on a low to medium speed until just combined. You want to avoid overmixing those, so just mix until the flour is well incorporated into the wet ingredients. Once done, use your spatula to push down the dough to get rid of air bubbles, which is just going to help make the dough nice and smooth. Your dough should be firm but soft, and you should be able to easily make a little ball with it that doesn't stick to your fingers. You also want to assess the dough at this point and check if it's soft enough to pipe. You can transfer a little to a piping bag and test it, and if it feels too stiff, then mix in a teaspoon of room temperature milk using a spatula until just combined. The more liquid you add in, the more your cookies are going to spread when baking, so only add as much as you need if you need any at all. Mine seems okay, so I'm going to continue without any milk. So now that our dough is ready, you want to transfer half of it to a piping bag with a large pastry piping tip on it, something like an Ateco 849 or 827. If the piping tip is too small, it's going to be really hard to pipe these cookies. You can get away with a 1M piping tip if your dough is, a nice soft consistency, but I do really recommend an extra large piping tip just to make things easier. I also start by only transferring half of the dough because the less dough in the piping bag, the easier it'll be to pipe. Now another tip is to double up your piping bag. So what this is going to do is it's going to prevent your piping bag from ripping as you're kind of piping your cookies. My one is quite strong though, so I'm only going to be using one. So I've got my 2 baking sheets here with the parchment paper on the top, and I'm just going to start piping my cookie dough into little rosettes, leaving a little gap in between each cookie. Now when piping, you want to pipe the dough quite tightly in the center of the cookie because it will spread a little in the oven. So once all the dough is piped, you should end up with about 40 cookies. This may vary depending on, the shape and size of your cookies, but roughly about that much. And now before baking these, you want to pop them into the fridge for 30 minutes. This is going to solidify the butter in the dough, and it's going to prevent the cookies from spreading too much once they bake. So once ready, pop one tray at a time in the middle rack of the oven and bake for about 15 minutes or until the edges start to brown. The browning is going to add extra flavor and crunch to the exterior of the cookies, so I do like a more brown cookie compared to a pale one, but you can adjust the baking time, depending on what you prefer. So my cookies are all done now. They smell so incredible. I did slightly overbake one of the trays, but it's fine. It's just got a bit of extra browning, but just needs a bit of extra flavor. Now, when these first come out of the oven, they will be quite soft, so you just want to give them some time to cool and firm up, and then they are ready to eat. Now, these cookies actually develop the optimal texture a day after they're baked. So initially when you taste them, they may seem kind of slightly dry, which, some people like, and don't get me wrong, they still taste incredible right after they're baked. But if you have them the next day, then you'll notice that they're just like slightly a bit more moist in the middle, but they still have a really nice kind of crisp exterior. Now you can play around with these cookies. So here I am just dipping my cookies into some melted semi-sweet chocolate. Milk chocolate and white chocolate work great too, but you want to use either chocolate chips or candy melts because the chocolate will just set really nicely. And then I'm also decorating some of them with some sprinkles too. So I'm just sprinkling some sprinkles on before the chocolate sets, and then you end up with a wonderful cookie with a hint of chocolate. It is so, so good. These are honestly just so ridiculously good and so ridiculously addictive. I could literally eat like 10 of these at once. They're just so light and crumbly and just have the most wonderful melt in your mouth texture. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video on butter cookies. If you decide to give these incredibly delicious butter cookies a go, then please do leave a review on my blog. It really helps my content out and I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I'll see you in the next video.